Maya Bennett checked her watch as she walked through the first-class cabin. 10 more hours until they landed in Paris. The plane hummed steadily as it cut through the night sky. Maya had been a flight attendant for 8 years now. At 32, she knew the job inside out. She liked the travel and meeting different people, even if some passengers in first class could be difficult. "More champagne, please," called out a man in seat 3 without looking up from his laptop. Maya recognized him right away. Daniel Harrington, CEO of Harrington Global Enterprises. His face was on business magazines all the time. People said he was worth over $4 billion. "Of course, sir," Maya said with her professional smile. As she poured his drink, the plane suddenly shook hard. The champagne spilled onto Daniel's expensive suit. "I am so sorry, sir." Maya quickly grabbed a napkin. Daniel frowned, but then the captain's voice came over the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're experiencing some unexpected mechanical issues. As a safety precaution, we need to make an emergency landing. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts." The calm voice couldn't hide the seriousness of the situation. Maya quickly collected loose items and checked that all passengers were secure. The plane dropped in altitude, making her stomach feel light. Outside the windows, lightning flashed through dark storm clouds. 30 minutes later, they were on the ground at a small airport outside London. Rain pounded the windows as passengers gathered their belongings. Maya overheard the pilots talking about a problem with one of the engines. They wouldn't be flying again tonight. "Ladies and gentlemen," the chief flight attendant announced, "the airline is working to find hotel rooms for everyone. Please be patient as we sort out the arrangements." This led to groans and complaints, especially from first class. Daniel Harrington closed his laptop with a snap and pulled out his phone. "My team will arrange a helicopter," he said to no one in particular, but his face changed when he looked at his phone. No signal. Perfect. 2 hours later, the situation had gotten worse. The storm had knocked out power in parts of London, and a big conference in the city meant almost no hotel rooms were available. The airline's customer service manager looked exhausted as she approached Maya. "Bennett, I need you to personally assist Mr. Harrington. He's our most high-profile passenger, and he's getting impatient. We finally found one available car service to take him to London, but it's the last one. You'll need to accompany him and make sure he gets settled at the hotel we found." Maya nodded, though dealing one-on-one with a billionaire was the last thing she wanted after this stressful day. She found Daniel Harrington standing by the window, watching the storm. "Mr. Harrington, I'm Maya Bennett. I'll be escorting you to London. The car is waiting whenever you're ready." Daniel turned. Up close, Maya noticed he had tired eyes despite his perfect suit and confident posture. He looked to be in his early 40s with streaks of gray in his dark hair. "Finally," he said, "lead the way, Ms. Bennett." They walked together through the small airport. Other passengers watched them with envious eyes as they headed toward the exit. Little did either of them know that this unplanned journey would change both their lives forever. As they stepped outside into the howling wind and rain, Maya couldn't help but wonder what she had done to deserve babysitting duty for a man who could buy and sell the airline she worked for. The black car waited at the curb, its headlights cutting through the storm as the first chapter of their unexpected story began. Maya and Daniel sat in silence as the car moved away from the small airport. Rain beat against the windows like angry fists. The driver, an older man named Ted, kept shaking his head as he listened to the radio. "Bad news, I'm afraid," Ted said, turning down the volume. "The main road to London is flooded. We'll have to take the back routes. It will take longer." Daniel sighed and checked his watch. "How much longer?" "Hard to say in this weather, sir. Maybe 3 hours instead of 1. Maya watched Daniel's face tighten with frustration. "I have an important meeting tomorrow morning," he said, mostly to himself. The car moved slowly along narrow country roads. Trees bent in the strong wind, and water pooled on the road surface. Maya tried to stay professional, but the silence was uncomfortable. "Is your meeting about the new solar energy project?" she asked. When Daniel looked surprised, she added, "I read business news sometimes." Daniel studied her for a moment. "Yes, actually, we're planning to invest $2 billion in renewable energy." "That sounds important," Maya said. "It is. If I'm not there, the board might vote against it." The conversation died again. Outside, the storm grew worse. Ted slowed the car as they approached a dip in the road where water flowed across like a small river. "I think we can make it," he said, but didn't sound convinced. The car moved forward into the water. At first, it seemed fine, but then the engine made a strange noise. Water started coming in under the doors. "Everyone out!" Ted shouted. "Now, the water's rising too fast." They grabbed their bags and pushed the doors open against the flowing water. Maya felt the cold water reach her knees as she stepped out. They waded to higher ground, soaked and shocked by how quickly things had changed. "The car. It's not going anywhere," Ted said, watching as water continued to rise around the vehicle. He pulled out his phone. No signal. The storm must have knocked out the towers. Daniel tried his phone too, but shook his head. They stood in the rain, looking around at the unfamiliar countryside. "There's some lights over there." Maya pointed to a soft glow through the trees. "Must be a village." With no better options, they began walking toward the lights, their shoes squelching in the mud. The rain soaked through their clothes, and the wind made the cold worse. Daniel, in his business suit, looked completely out of place. "You okay?" Maya asked when she noticed him shivering. "Fine," he said shortly, but you could tell he wasn't used to this kind of situation. After 20 minutes of difficult walking, they reached a small village. The main street had only a few buildings. Most were dark, but one building had lights on and people moving around inside. A sign swung in the wind. "The Green Dragon Pub." They hurried inside and found the pub crowded with other stranded travelers. A fire burned in the fireplace, and people sat at tables with mugs of hot drinks. The warm air felt wonderful after the cold rain. "Welcome to the emergency shelter," said a woman behind the bar. "The village is cut off. Roads are flooded in all directions." Maya and Daniel looked at each other as the reality sank in. They were stuck here, together, for who knew how long. The billionaire CEO had no special access, no private helicopter, no way to use his money or power to change the situation. "Well," Maya said, trying to stay positive, "at least we're dry now." Daniel ran a hand through his wet hair and looked around at the simple country pub filled with ordinary people. For the first time in years, he was just another person in trouble, not the powerful Mr. Harrington, and somehow, as he stood there dripping water onto the old wooden floor, he felt something unexpected, a strange sense of relief. The Green Dragon Pub grew more crowded as the night went on. More people arrived, wet and worried. The owner, Bill, and his wife, Jenny, worked hard to make everyone comfortable. They served hot tea and soup to the cold travelers. Maya found 2 empty chairs in a corner and waved Daniel over. He carried 2 steaming mugs of tea. "Thank you," Maya said, taking one mug. The warmth felt good in her hands. Daniel sat down and looked around the room. An old man was struggling with his heavy bag. Without a word, Daniel got up and went to help him. "Let me get that for you, sir," he said, lifting the bag easily. "Thank you, young man," the old man said, not knowing he was talking to one of the richest men in the world. Maya watched with surprise. This was not the demanding passenger from the plane. When Daniel came back, she smiled at him. "That was kind of you." Daniel shrugged. "My grandfather taught me to respect my elders." He seemed different now, more relaxed without his usual audience of business people. Across the room, a mother tried to calm her crying children. They were scared of the storm and tired from traveling. "I might be able to help," Maya said, walking over to the family. She sat with the children and began telling them stories about her travels around the world. Soon, they were laughing and asking questions instead of crying. Daniel watched her, impressed by how easily she connected with people. After the children fell asleep, Maya returned to their corner. "You're good with kids," Daniel said. "I used to help at a community arts center back home," Maya explained. "We did storytelling workshops for children." "Used to? Why did you stop?" Maya looked down at her tea. "The center closed. No money. I always dreamed of opening my own someday, but..." "But what?" "Dreams need funding," she said simply. Daniel nodded, understanding all too well how money shaped people's choices. The storm rattled the windows, but inside, the pub felt safe and warm. As the night went on, they talked more. Daniel found himself telling Maya things he rarely shared with anyone. "Sometimes I feel trapped," he admitted. Everyone sees the billionaire, not the person. And who is the person? Maya asked. Daniel thought about this. Someone who's not sure he likes what his company has become. We started with good intentions, but now it's all about profits. He looked surprised at his own honesty. I don't know why I'm telling you this. It's easier to talk to strangers sometimes, Maya said. No history, no expectations. A family nearby was trying to call their relatives but couldn't get a signal. Daniel reached into his bag and pulled out a satellite phone. Here, use this, he offered. It works without cell towers. The family thanked him with tears in their eyes as they finally reached their worried relatives. Word spread quickly about the phone, and soon people were lining up to make quick calls to loved ones. Maya noticed how Daniel remembered everyone's names, how he asked about their situations and really listened to their answers. This wasn't the behavior of someone who only cared about money. Later, as the pub quieted down and people found places to sleep, Maya and Daniel sat by the fire. The flames cast a warm glow on their faces. You know, Maya said thoughtfully, I've served celebrities and business leaders for years. Most of them never really see the people around them. And I see people as numbers on spreadsheets too often, Daniel admitted. Employees, customers, shareholders, not individuals with their own stories. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but something had changed between them. The walls that usually separated people of different worlds, wealth, status, power, had started to come down, washed away by the same rain that had stranded them together. It was just past midnight when a loud banging on the pub door startled everyone. Bill, the owner, hurried to open it. A man in a bright yellow rain jacket stood there, water dripping from his clothes. I'm from emergency services, he announced loudly. The river has broken its banks. The whole village needs to evacuate to higher ground immediately. The room filled with worried voices. People grabbed their belongings, not sure what to do or where to go. Please stay calm, the emergency worker said, but his voice was lost in the noise. Daniel stood up on a chair and whistled loudly. The room fell silent. Everyone, listen, he said in a clear, strong voice. We need to stay organized. Let's help each other and follow instructions. People nodded, responding to his natural authority. The emergency worker looked relieved. We have boats coming, but not enough for everyone at once, he explained. The community center on the hill will be our safe place. It's a 30-minute walk in good weather, but in this storm... How many boats? Daniel asked. 3 small ones. They can take the elderly and families with small children first. Daniel turned to Maya. We need to organize these people. Maya nodded. Her flight attendant training had prepared her for emergencies. We should put people in groups. Those who need immediate evacuation, those who can wait for the next boats, and those who can walk. They quickly divided the tasks. Daniel used his satellite phone to call for more help, speaking with authority to officials. Maya organized the travelers into groups, remembering who needed medicine and who couldn't walk well. Group 1, please follow me, she called out, leading the first group of elderly people and families with young children to the door. Outside, the water was already covering the road, reaching halfway up to their knees. Daniel helped carry children through the water to the boats. His expensive suit was ruined, but he didn't seem to care. Rain poured down, making it hard to see. We'll come back for the next group, the boat operator promised as they pulled away. Back in the pub, Maya and Daniel prepared the second group. Bill was moving food and supplies to higher shelves as water started seeping under the door. The water's rising faster than they expected, Daniel said, checking his phone. The next boats might not make it through. Maya looked at the remaining people. Then we walk. There must be a path to higher ground. An old woman who lived in the village spoke up. There's a footpath behind the church. It goes up to the hill. It's steep but above the water. Daniel nodded. That's our plan then. Everyone grab what you need. Help those who need it. They left the pub just as water began flowing in. The group moved slowly through the rain, following the local woman's directions. Maya helped an older man who was struggling. Daniel carried a child on his shoulders while holding the hand of the child's mother, who was carrying a baby. The path was muddy and slippery. Twice people fell, but others quickly helped them up. Daniel stayed at the back of the group, making sure no one was left behind. Maya led from the front, her calm voice guiding them forward. After an hour of difficult climbing, they reached the community center on the hill. Lights shone from the windows, and they could see the first group already inside. Tired but relieved, everyone hurried in out of the rain. As they entered the warm building, Daniel and Maya looked at each other across the room. Both were soaked and exhausted, but there was something new in their eyes, a shared sense of accomplishment and connection that went beyond words. For the first time in his adult life, Daniel had been valued not for his wealth or power, but for his actual abilities as a leader. And Maya realized that her skills went far beyond serving drinks on an airplane. She had helped save lives tonight. Neither knew it yet, but this crisis had changed something fundamental between them and within themselves. Morning came slowly to the community center on the hill. Pale light filtered through the windows as the storm finally began to ease. Inside, people slept wherever they could find space, on chairs, tables, and on the floor. Emergency workers had brought blankets and more food during the night. Maya woke up with a stiff neck from sleeping in an uncomfortable chair. She looked around the room and spotted Daniel sitting alone by a window, watching the sunrise. His usually perfect hair was messy, his expensive suit wrinkled and stained. Somehow, he looked more real this way. She walked over and sat beside him. "Did you sleep at all?" Daniel shook his head. Too much to think about. Outside, they could see the village partly underwater. The pub where they had sheltered was surrounded by brown floodwater. In the distance, emergency vehicles moved along the higher roads. "The rain has stopped," Maya noted. "That's something." Daniel nodded but seemed lost in thought. After a moment, he spoke quietly. "Last night was the first time in 20 years that someone needed me for something other than my money or my company." Maya looked at him. "You were good in a crisis, a natural leader." "So were you." He turned to face her. "Can I tell you something strange? Despite everything, the danger, the discomfort, I feel more alive right now than I have in years." A volunteer brought them cups of hot tea. They thanked her and sipped the warm drink gratefully. "I've been thinking about what you said," Daniel continued, "about your dream of opening an arts center." "Just a dream," Maya said with a small shrug. "Maybe someday." "Why wait? Life is short. Last night proved that." "Easy for you to say," Maya smiled. "Some of us have to work for a living." Daniel didn't smile back. Instead, he looked serious. "I've been questioning a lot of things lately. My company's direction, my own choices." He paused. "Did you know that my company has factories in countries where workers earn barely enough to eat?" Maya was surprised by his honesty. "I thought your company was considered very successful." "It is, by making money, not by making the world better." Daniel stared into his tea. "I've been thinking about stepping down as CEO." "Really? Why?" "To rebuild something better. Something that doesn't harm people or the planet." He looked at her directly. "If money were no object, what would you do with your life, Maya?" The question caught her off guard. No one had ever asked her that before. "I create spaces where children could explore art and music, especially kids who don't usually get those opportunities," she said, surprising herself with how quickly the answer came. "Art saved me when I was young. I'd want to give that to others." Daniel nodded, listening carefully. "That matters. That's real." He gestured toward the sleeping people around them. "Last night was real too. Not like the business meetings where everyone just tells me what I want to hear." An emergency worker approached them. "Mr. Harrington, we've received a message from your office. They're sending a helicopter for you as soon as the weather allows." Daniel thanked him and turned back to Maya. Real life is about to return. "Was it ever gone?" Maya asked. "Or did we just see a different side of it last night?" Daniel didn't answer, but his eyes held a new clarity. The sunrise painted the room in golden light as they sat together, two people from different worlds who had glimpsed something important about each other and themselves during one unexpected night. By early afternoon, the roads to London were partly cleared. Emergency services brought more supplies to the community center, and people began making plans to leave. The radio announced that trains would start running again by evening. The sound of helicopter blades cut through the air. People ran to the windows to look. A sleek black helicopter landed in an open field nearby. Two men in dark suits jumped out and hurried toward the community center. "Mr. Harrington," one called as they entered the building. We've been looking everywhere for you, sir. Just like that, Daniel was no longer just Daniel. He was Mr. Harrington again, the billionaire CEO. The change was visible in his face and how he stood a little straighter. Jackson, Matthews, he nodded to the men. Good to see you. Sir, the board is very concerned. The meeting is still scheduled for tomorrow morning. We brought clean clothes and your laptop. One of the men handed Daniel a bag. Thank you. Give me a moment. Daniel turned to Maya, who stood nearby. The men stepped back respectfully. Well, Maya said with a small smile, your real life is calling. Daniel looked uncomfortable. Maya, He stopped, then tried again. Last night meant something. Our conversation this morning, too. Maya nodded. It did. I'd like to offer you a job at my company. We could use someone with your skills and perspective. The offer surprised her. A job. Doing what exactly? Daniel hesitated. We can figure that out. Something meaningful. Maya studied his face. She could see he meant well, but something felt wrong about the offer. Thank you, but no, she said gently. I don't want to be someone's charity project, even yours. It's not charity, Daniel insisted. It's an opportunity. For me? Or for you to feel good about helping someone? Maya asked. She didn't sound angry, just honest. Daniel didn't have an answer. One of his assistants approached again. Sir, we really should go. Weather reports show another storm coming. Daniel nodded. He took out his business card and wrote something on the back. My personal number, he said, handing it to Maya. Not my assistant's line. Mine. If you change your mind about the job, or if you just want to talk. Maya took the card. After a moment, she wrote her number on a napkin and gave it to him. In case you want to talk too, she said. About anything real. They looked at each other awkwardly, neither sure what to say next. The moment they had shared during the crisis felt distant now, as if it had happened to different people. Goodbye, Maya Bennett, Daniel finally said, extending his hand formally. Goodbye, Mr. Harrington, she replied, shaking it. He walked away with his team, and Maya watched through the window as they boarded the helicopter. Within minutes, they were gone, the sound fading into the distance. 3 days later, Maya was back at work, serving first-class passengers on a flight to Tokyo. Everything seemed normal, taking drink orders, smiling politely, helping with bags, but she felt different inside. Several times, she almost called the number on the business card she kept in her wallet. But what would she say? That she missed talking to him? That seemed foolish after just one night. As she served champagne to a woman wearing expensive jewelry, Maya wondered if Daniel thought about their night too. Had it changed him at all? Or had he simply returned to his world of board meetings and billion-dollar decisions? The village and the flood just an unusual story to tell at dinner parties. The plane flew on through the clouds, and Maya continued with her duties, unaware that across the ocean, Daniel sat in his office staring at a napkin with her number, wondering the exact same things. 3 months passed. Maya continued working flights and living her normal life. On her days off, she volunteered at a small arts program in her neighborhood. The program was struggling to stay open due to lack of funding. Maya helped teach children how to paint and draw, finding joy in their excitement when they created something new. We might have to close next month, the program director told her one day. Our rent is going up and we can't afford it. Maya nodded sadly. She had seen this happen before. Good programs closing because of money problems. Meanwhile, across the ocean, Daniel Harrington sat in a large meeting room. 20 board members stared at him with shocked faces. You want to do what? Asked one older man, his voice rising. Change our company's direction, Daniel repeated calmly. Move away from fossil fuels. Improve working conditions in all our factories. Pay living wages to all employees worldwide. That will cost billions, another board member said. Yes, it will, Daniel agreed. And it's the right thing to do. The argument lasted for hours. Some board members threatened to leave. Others accused Daniel of losing his mind. But in the end, he was still the majority shareholder. He had the final say. That evening, alone in his office, Daniel looked at the napkin with Maya's phone number. He had almost called her many times but always stopped himself. What would he say? That meeting her had somehow changed him. That seemed too dramatic after just one night. Instead, he opened his laptop and searched for community arts programs in Maya's city. He found several, including the one where she volunteered. He read about their financial struggles with interest. The next morning, Maya arrived at the arts program to find the director dancing with joy. "We got an anonymous donation," she told Maya, "enough to pay the rent for 2 years, buy new supplies, and even expand our programs." "That's amazing," Maya said, truly happy. "Do we know who sent it?" "No name, just a note saying they believe in what we're doing." Maya thought about it all day. On her break, she checked the news on her phone and saw a headline that made her stop. Harrington Global announces major restructuring. CEO pledges billions to sustainability and worker rights. The article showed a picture of Daniel at a press conference. He looked different somehow, more determined, more alive. The article quoted him saying, "Companies must be more than profit machines. We have responsibilities to our workers, our communities, and our planet." That evening, Maya received an email from an address she didn't recognize. The subject line simply said, "Is this a good use of resources?" The body contained only a link to the news article about Harrington Global's changes and nothing else. Maya smiled and replied, "It's a start." 3 days later, another email came. "Your arts program received my donation. Is that a better use of resources?" Maya stared at her screen, suddenly understanding. She typed back, "Much better. Thank you." "Why anonymous, though?" His reply came quickly. "Money complicates things between people. I wanted to help without strings attached." And so began their correspondence. Not romantic messages or personal confessions, but thoughtful exchanges about business ethics, community needs, and how wealth could be used for good. They never mentioned that night directly, but its impact was clear in every message they shared. Neither knew where this unusual friendship might lead, but both felt it changing them. Daniel was rebuilding his company with new values. Maya was developing bigger dreams for helping her community. Their unexpected connection, formed during one stormy night, had sparked transformations neither could have imagined before. 1 year had passed since the stormy night that brought Maya and Daniel together. Maya stood backstage at a large conference center, nervously checking her notes. In a few minutes, she would give a keynote speech to over 500 business leaders and nonprofit directors. "Nervous?" a familiar voice asked. Maya turned to see Daniel walking toward her, dressed in a simple dark suit. "Terrified," she admitted. "I've never spoken to so many important people before." "Just be yourself," Daniel said. "That's who they came to hear." Maya nodded and took a deep breath. So much had changed in 1 year. 6 months ago, she had left her job as a flight attendant to become the director of community outreach for the Harrington Foundation, the charitable organization Daniel had created with $3 billion of his own money. The foundation focused on funding arts education in underserved communities. Maya had designed innovative programs that connected businesses with local needs. Together, they had already opened 30 community arts centers across the country. And now, please welcome to the stage Maya Bennett, Director of Community Outreach for the Harrington Foundation, and Daniel Harrington, Founder and CEO, announced the host. They walked onto the stage together as the audience applauded. Maya approached the microphone first. "1 year ago, I was serving drinks on airplanes," she began. The audience laughed. "I never imagined I would be standing here today." She told the story of how community arts had saved her as a child, giving her confidence and purpose. She explained the foundation's mission to bring those same opportunities to children everywhere. The audience listened closely to every word. When Daniel joined her at the microphone, their easy partnership was clear to everyone. They finished each other's sentences and shared credit for their success. There was no hint of boss and employee in their interaction, only mutual respect and shared purpose. After the conference, a journalist approached them. "Mr. Harrington, Ms. Bennett, your foundation is making waves in the nonprofit world. But everyone wants to know, how did this partnership begin? What's the real story?" Daniel and Maya exchanged a look. They had never publicly shared the full story of that night. "Let's just say we met during a crisis," Daniel said, "and discovered we had complementary skills. And similar values," Maya added, "though we didn't know it at first." The journalist looked disappointed with such a simple answer, As she walked away, Daniel turned to Maya. Do you ever think about how different things would be if our flight hadn't had mechanical problems that night? He asked. All the time, Maya said. I'd still be serving drinks to people who never looked me in the eye. You'd still be running a company that didn't match your values. It's strange how one unexpected night can change everything, Daniel said. That evening, they had dinner with the Foundation's team to celebrate their successful presentation. Everyone raised their glasses in a toast. To unexpected beginnings, Maya said, looking at Daniel. And to what comes next, he added. Later, as they walked through the quiet city streets, Maya realized something important. What had started during that stormy night wasn't a typical friendship or a romance. It was a partnership built on shared purpose, something deeper and more lasting than either of them could have imagined. The billionaire CEO and the flight attendant had created something meaningful together. Their different backgrounds and perspectives had become their greatest strength, and both knew that this was just the beginning of what they could accomplish together. As they reached the hotel, the night sky cleared to reveal stars above the city lights, a reminder that sometimes it takes darkness to help us see more clearly what truly matters.